Welcome to the All49ers Roundtable. It's been a few weeks. I already forgot to do the intro, so I'm just going to kill time for about 20 seconds because I always feel like it takes people a few seconds to come. So hold on. Welcome to the All49ers Roundtable. I'm Grant Cohn, joined by Jack Hammer, Maverick Pallack, Suneil Gaitonde. Want to give a big hello to Maverick. It's been a while. It's nice to have you back.
Happy to be back.
I'm glad we have something to talk about. This might be the last relevant day for like a month and a half because Kyle Shanahan shut it all down and there's no more practices. I'm really disappointed by that because it pays my bills. Anyway, Niners had some injuries. It's not going away. Jeff Wilson Jr. was the beginning, and now they got Tavarius Moore and Justin School out for a significant amount of time. We got to assess some blame. So in your opinion, who is most responsible for this never-ending string of injuries, and really for these injuries this offseason? Let's focus there. Suneil, why don't you start us off?
Ooh, I wanted Jack to start off.
Jack, why don't you start us off? And I want to plug, Jack wrote an article today for All49ers Sports Illustrated, really tracing the history of this injury problem, and it's the most comprehensive work on the subject I've seen so far. Definitely check it out. Jack, you're up.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, as far as what's happened this year, I'd like to be able to say that it's passed. But other than Jeff Wilson Jr., the two other guys that got injured, they haven't been injured. They don't have injury histories. Justin School doesn't have any kind of an injury history in the past. And I don't think Tavarius Moore does either. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that one. But, I think it's just an unfortunate situation for School and Moore specifically. The contract year for Moore coming up and School, I think he was going to be in a battle for his job. But more than anything, one thing I want to say is, you go back to 2011 and that was the year of a strike, not a strike, but the lockout. And the team wasn't even able to practice until preseason camp in August. And that team was among the top in the league as far as least amount of games lost due to injury. So there's definitely something going on in camp and not seen it. The only thing I can go off of is just the competitiveness that's taking place in camp is a little higher than it needs to be at this point in time. At this point in time, they should be doing a lot of individual work, a lot of just basic repping play, of things up and playing against air on offense and defense. And if they're going to do 7-on-7 periods, that's fine. But the team periods definitely should be limited, especially since there's no uniforms. All they're out there is in shorts and shirts at the helmet. So I'm going to just go with this one. I think it's unfortunate situation and probably working a little too fast and too hard for these guys at this point in time, considering the 49ers are the only one that's really getting hit this hard.
So real quick, before I let Mav go, the question was who's responsible? So it's a great answer, but it sounds like you're saying ultimately the buck stops at Kyle on this one.
Yes. Ultimately, in this situation, because these guys don't have an injury past, it's got to come down to, it's bad luck, but if you're going to pin it on somebody, it's got to be pinned on the head coach.
Right. If it were an injury-prone veteran getting hurt, then you could definitely point to John Lynch. I see what you're saying. Maverick, what do you think?
Well, at least to me with the Achilles, from what I understand about those injuries, it's just a matter of time and those things pop and they're horrific injuries and hard to come back from. So that one's tough. But ACLs and the high ankle sprains and the foot injuries and hamstring injuries, those are some of those are preventable. At least the hamstring and high ankle sprains, I think, can be prevented. And it's weird. I don't know the correct answer. I'm sure if Kyle Shanahan knew the correct answer, he would have fixed this in 2018. But there's something wrong and they have to fix it, whether that's reevaluating the medical staff, whether that's reevaluating the warm-ups, which I'm sure, Grant, in your time at open practice, you got to see a lot of the warm-ups because that's usually what they let everyone see the most, right? So do they have to reevaluate that? Is there something going on there? There's a lot of injuries going on, and it's something I've noticed that it's not necessarily just the guys that have injury history, like Jack said. Occasionally there's the guy that comes out of nowhere, like Justin School, and he gets this quick injury, or Jeff Wilson Jr. wasn't that lifting. And so it's not even like he was running too hard, which is, I think, how he's been hurt in the past. It was just lifting and he got hurt. And so those injuries can't happen this early on, but they have happened a lot to the 49ers in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
First off, I just want to say how honored I am to be on the biggest channel in the Bay Area. Grant Cohn. All that work you've been putting in over the last few years, man.
You guys all helped me get over the top, but
Definitely
32,000 subscribers. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Now let me go at your throat. No, I'm just kidding.
Right,
but
bring it.
So this is like a really interesting topic, and everybody knows that follows me on this channel that I'm a huge, Shanahan stan, right? I'm a big Kyle Shanahan, especially, So there's this I guess like a picture or kind of like a data table that's been going around the internet. You guys have probably seen where it kind of breaks down how many games have been missed by injury over the last, I think it started in 2014 up until 2020. And it shows the 49ers are the second worst as far as least healthy team, with average of 26 games. And this obviously has been going on since 2014, and it's been pretty consistent. And I tried to look at that chart to really see if there were teams that had a big issue and then were able to fix it, or teams that didn't have an issue and then it started being a big problem. And 30 of the 32 teams were pretty consistent. Like they were either always injured or highly injured, or they were like really, really low, except two teams. The first team was Tampa Bay. So they were really injury prone team until 2019, where the 2019-2020 years, they basically had 2 games and 1 game of injuries in that chart. And then the Tennessee Titans were also an oft injured team. And then in 2017, they started becoming much more healthy, which is also the year that Vrabel became the coach. So those are the 2 things that there was actual changes, and they coincided with regime changes. So with that being said, me being a huge Kyle Shanahan fan, I have to be honest and be like, look, this isn't a Kyle Shanahan problem, because it happened not on his watch. But you're the leader of the team.
Thank you.
And if you are seeing this issue, it's up to you to fix it. And we have a precedent with the Titans and the Tampa Bay to be able to do that. The second thing that kind of was, a little bit like, man, I wish I had something to throw Shanahan some bail. But one of the most healthy teams on that list was the Atlanta Falcons, which was a regime that he came from.
Wow.
So to see that he came from a team that was, I think they're like the second or the third least injured team in that, even the years that he was there. So to see that he isn't picking something up from the culture that was in Atlanta that kept their players so healthy, is kind of like, what are we doing here? Like, this is clearly an issue, clearly something that we've seen coaches be able to change in the past, and it isn't being done. So unfortunately, I do have to put this on Kyle Shanahan, because it's up to you as the leader of the team to be able to see, hey, this is going on. What tweaks do I need to make sure that we could get healthy? Because the number one issue on the 49ers is health. If they're healthy, they're in the Super Bowl. If they're not healthy, they're not making the playoffs. And literally, that's the only difference between winning and losing with the 49ers.
That's a surprising answer. Good answer. You guys are all pretty much in agreement that it's on Kyle. I agree too. It's on the head coach. It's on the head coach. If he doesn't figure this out, then no one's going to figure it out. But I'm going to add something to this. I was on with Eric Crocker and Will Blackman this morning. Will Blackman, 12-year vet. I never talked to him. He's brilliant. I went to Boston College. I guess I should have expected it. He's really, really smart. Something about DBs, man. DBs are really smart. Football players in general are really smart. It's a very conceptual game where you have to memorize a lot of stuff. It's not like baseball where all you have to memorize is how many outs there are. No offense to baseball players. I play baseball, but you don't have to be smart to play that game. You do have to be smart to play football. Anyway, Will Blackman made a great point. He was like, man, this is on the players. Look at who got hurt. Jeff Wilson Jr., 25. He had injury history, but Tavarius Moore, 25, no injury history. Justin School, 25, no injury history. What's going on here? These are young kids who are making that push to get a second contract, and they're working out too hard. They're from July to April when they're on their own, they're probably working out too hard, and by the time they get to the spring practices, they're cooked. They're gassed, and they haven't understood or internalized the importance of recovery which is something that vets who've been under the knife a few times understand. So there is a personal responsibility and a professionalism here that the players need to understand. But again, if Kyle makes it a point of emphasis, maybe these players will get it. So it's ultimately up to Kyle, but hearing Will talk about it, this is kind of like a young player's mistake. And what he was saying is like, it's Instagram's fault. Because all these guys want to go on Instagram and post their workouts in February and show how hard they're working. It's like, man, you should be chilling, man, because you're going to be breaking down your body for 9 months.
But I also feel like, I saw that when you made that video, and I thought it was a great point. Yeah. But it coincides with where Shanahan is in his coaching career too. Because if you look at it, he's also in the last years of his contract trying to get over the hump. So that same intensity of trying to be a winning team, like if you look at, coaches that have won, they're probably like more calm and like just be like, okay, this is a grind and all this kind of stuff. Versus Shanahan, who's like, I got to get this monkey
out. 31 and 36. I got to win, man.
And so maybe that's why
work out harder.
Work out harder. He's in their ear saying that's probably the message when they're leaving. Like, we got to work hard. Next year we got to come back stronger, and maybe that's what's happening. So.
Good call. Brian Tate says, do you think Jed called Kyle and said stop practice?
That's a good point. I don't know.
I don't know. What do you think Jed would do that? That'd be bold of Jed. I don't think he's told Kyle one thing to do in the last 4 years, but I don't know.
Maybe Lynch.
I do think Lynch needs to take control to an extent. I mean, God love Kyle. He's very good at certain things, but it seems like he's demonstrated he doesn't have the answers to this problem. I mean, he sat there today like this and was like, man, it is. What do you want me to say? It's football. Like, okay, then delegate that. Let Lynch be in charge of that. B Money says, I love you, B Money. B Money for show says, what will hurt the 49ers more, the injuries or Trey Lance not getting practice experience because minicamp has been canceled?
If Trey Lance is getting hurt from not playing 2 days, would they miss 2 more days of practice?
Nah, man, it's about. I think they canceled 5 days of practice.
Oh, okay.
2 days of OTAs and 3 days of minicamp. So that's 5 practices.
I still think
it's a valid question.
I still think that losing those 2 guys, which I know we're going to touch on later, affects the whole depth of this team, not just the 2 positions they are expected to play.
Yep.
I'm gonna go and I'm gonna say that the Lance not getting the reps is going to hurt them more.
Yeah.
For the fact that the 2 guys that got hurt are more depth pieces than starting pieces. So, and whereas Trey Lance, we've seen it with Jimmy Garoppolo. He's right there. He's probably more than likely going to be playing at some point this season. He's going to have to be ready to play. And he's a guy who hasn't played in a year and a half, almost 2 years now. So he needs as much practice time that he can get on the field and reps with the wide receivers and coaches as he can get.
I feel like these spring practices were a bust, but the main silver lining is what Jack's talking about. At least Trey got reps at all. That's good.
Yeah, but I think there's going to be a preseason this year. There's still a full camp.
That's true.
So it's not like the same offseason as last season where there isn't that going to happen. So
this smells like a Jed intervention. Kyle wouldn't do this autonomously. Good for Jed if this is true, because this injury thing is out of control. Well, I think a lot of fans are kind of feeling like this is out of character for Kyle. Maybe it is. And if Jed stepped in and was like, Kyle, you got to do something wrong, and then Kyle said, okay, well, then let's just shut it down entirely, that would be kind of an interesting response. And I think that leads me into my next topic. Was Kyle Shanahan wrong to send players home early and cancel minicamp and the final week of OTAs? Not just minicamp. He canceled 6 practices. And he said he wanted to. It was the plan. They came in early. They done enough. But none of this was announced until these 2 injuries happened. And then all of a sudden, this was the plan all along. I'm curious, what do you guys think? Was this the right move, or was this an overreaction?
I think it's yet to be determined because we don't know what's going to happen, right? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you could answer the question, Grant. Is he sending everybody home, or is everybody?
He's sending them home. Go home.
Okay. Well, I think that at the end of the day, Kyle Shanahan wants to win, just like all of us fans want to win as well. If it's going to be so detrimental to the team and all that kind of stuff, then I don't think he would have done it. I think one thing that we forget is most of the players on this team we were just talking like weeks ago. Everybody was ramming on the 49ers for being one of the oldest teams in the league. Most of these guys have been in, camps. They know the system. We're not putting in too many new starters that are like really.
Trent Williams and Alex Mack weren't participating. These were all younger guys in their 20s.
So it seems like this is more geared towards, just getting people ready and all that kind of stuff, which maybe they could do on their own. So I don't think it's, going to be super detrimental. I think this was something that just needed to be done. Maybe it was just like he probably was reading the room. Maybe the guys were going too hard. Maybe these injuries got people thinking certain things. So this was just a move that he had to make. Maybe he saw enough and was like, okay, let's just give them their homework and then have them come back for a regular camp.
I can't remember a time, not just with the Niners, but any team where they ended training camp the day or early when two guys got injured. If it's happened before, I'd be interested to read what that team ended up doing later in the season. I just thought it was a weird move. I get wanting to stop training camp, but I just can't recall a winning team being like, oh, we just lost two guys in the same day. Let's just cut it short.
It's odd, right? It's
just weird. I'm not saying I necessarily wouldn't have done that. I might have done that if they lost two players, and I understand if they cut it short a little, but it's just an interesting move.
Yeah, like if this were the Cowboys or the Giants or the Jets or any team in like a bigger market on the East Coast or it would be huge news. But the Niners do it out here, and it's like kind of falls through the cracks. What do you think? What do you think, Jack?
Well, I think it's funny because Kyle Shanahan says that you don't cancel practice when a couple of guys get hurt, but you cancel 2 days of practice of OTAs and 3 days of minicamp.
Thank you.
So yes, I think he makes a wrong. If it was the correct decision to keep practicing after those injuries, it's the wrong decision to cancel minicamp and everything else. Because if you're going to finish the practice, you might as well just keep on doing what you've been doing, or maybe try to ramp it down a little bit. I'm not sure what it is there, but yeah, I'm going to say yes because of what he said.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, Jack. And what I've been trying to say since the beginning of spring practices is there's so much you can do in May and June that doesn't involve competition. So much. It's a good thing to have all your players together, working out, strength and conditioning under the supervision of your staff that you've spent millions of dollars on. Because last year they didn't do that. That's a good thing. It's a good thing to have everyone there in person learning the installations together. It's a good thing to be able to go out and do certain drills, but you don't have to compete in May and June. I mean, it just seems like he's like a my way or the highway kind of guy. We're gonna do it this way, and it doesn't work, and fans get upset. Jed gets upset, and he's like, "All right, let's shut it down. Shut it down. Let's just go home then." I mean, why don't you just work? Why don't you just do film work? Show the kids, show the young kids what to expect from the Lions, what to expect from the Eagles. Go through. It just seems like there's so much you can do. It seems like a total overreaction. You don't need to go home. If I were a first-year player in the team, I'm like, why do I want to go home? I want to be here. I don't want to go to Alabama. I was in Alabama for 22 years. I'm cool with Alabama. Silicon Valley seems interesting. Let's talk, man. I'm interested in what you have to say. I think it's a mistake, man. I think it's maybe not a mistake, but it's a total missed opportunity. It's a missed opportunity.
I can guarantee you that if this happened at Alabama, Nick Saban isn't sending those Alabama players home for the summer. He's doing something with them because that's what you do. Those coaches are fighting for every second they can get with their players, and now we're shutting down practice.
I don't get it. So Kyle, if you're watching, missed opportunity. There's still time to be like, you know what? Don't fly home. Let's watch film. I would watch film. If you invited me, I would go. I think Javon Kinlaw wants to be there. You're supposed to be the most interesting coach in the world. I want to see what you have to say about the Lions. Why wouldn't you? Come on, man. Anyway.
There's just one thing that I'm sorry, Grant. I just want to say, like, the 49ers are one team that doesn't let a lot slip out. Like, they're really good at keeping things a secret. So if, there is a bigger picture or if there is something going on underneath, it's just we wouldn't know about it. I don't know if why they're shutting down. It seems like it's because of these injuries or whatnot, but maybe they're not sending everybody home, or maybe there's something else going on that we're going to find out about in the next few days or something like that. But they're just not letting it out for the media to know.
Yeah, we'll never know. Kieran says, "I'm sorry, but if players can't get through practice, they don't need to be on the team." See, my question here is what's the point of emphasis with this team? Is the point of emphasis bigger, faster, stronger. Bigger, faster, stronger. Look at Kittle. That's his whole career is based on bigger, faster, stronger. Same with Fred Warner. Where's the emphasis on recovery? Recovery. It seems like maybe there's some collateral damage if all you're telling players is bigger, faster, stronger, 365, 24/7.
I just feel like these last few injuries were people that didn't have injury problems. Jeff Wilson Jr. has injury issues. Nick Bosa has injury issues. Solomon Thomas, I don't know too much about as far as his injury background, but like it's just School and Moore that didn't have injury issues. Most everybody else has a history of injury issues. So to just make it seem like these people are coming to the 49ers full, like 100%, never been injured, and then all of a sudden they're having injuries, that's not accurate. Like, no. Unfortunately, they've picked a lot of question marks in the health department, and we've, unfortunately, hasn't worked out. So I don't know if it's just, I think it's more maybe like the choices that they're making versus what's actually being done on the field every single day.
Kyle, we're just trying to help. He seems so annoyed today, right? He seems so annoyed. Like, gotta do this. Kyle, we're just trying to help, man. No one's trying to fire you. We all like you. We all think you should be good. We're honestly trying to help. He's got this look on his face like, do I have to do this again? Yeah, you do until you stop getting people hurt. I'm sorry. Lynch doesn't have that pull. Got to be dead. All right, maybe. All right, Kyle said something interesting. What? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, well, one thing, Big Gold Nuggets in the comments also said, like, what you were saying, recovery is important, and that's something Brady's focused on his whole career. Yeah. And that's something that's really important. But also, some guys that have come over here, veterans that have seen a strike up in injury history. Just look at Jerick McKinnon, missed one game the 3 years prior to signing with the 49ers, and then missed 2 seasons. It's there's been injuries that just some guys are coming over here, and then it's happening.
He's like one of 16 dudes who's gotten hurt in practice since Kyle's been here. I've been putting together a list, and like every 2 hours I forget a guy. Ben Garland last year missed the whole season with the high ankle sprain he suffered in training camp. There's like 16 guys. Ben says Kyle had to cancel practice, otherwise Grant, Mav, etc. would have roasted him on this channel, and Kyle would have a PR nightmare. The Grant Cohn effect. He's just reacting to us now, huh? He's just reacting to us.
Real quick,
go ahead, Zach. Sorry.
I was going to say real quick on the bigger, faster, stronger, and the lack of recovery. One thing that we got to remember too is we all had a really hard time with Jimmy Garoppolo not coming back last year, right? So this is a situation where Garoppolo took our advice. He sat out, and now, according to Kyle Shanahan, he's having the best spring of his tenure.
We're going to talk about that in a second.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
But yes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, real quick. Raymond says conspiracy. Kyle looked like a grounded teenager during the press conference. I agree. He did look like a grounded teenager. Did Jed ground minicamp? Let's not forget Jed's history of impatience. It's interesting that a lot of the fans are connecting these dots. I honestly never thought of that. I never thought that Jed's behind this. But if you guys all think it, man, I'm open-minded. What do you guys? Is it possible that this is more in Jed's personality than Kyle's? I don't know. That's a deep conspiracy, but it's intriguing. It makes me go like this.
Well, go back to the Kyle Shanahan today press conference.
It was outrageous. Imagine a CEO of a company coming out talking like that, man. I loved it though. It's like, Kyle, never change, please. Don't ever change. He's so predictable. I love that, man. He's like, what do you want from me? Why do I have to change? My dad's been impressed with me since I was 11 years old. Yeah. Yeah, Tobin says Niners need to subscribe to the TB12 method. Problem solved. Yeah, probably.
Avocado ice cream. That's what we need.
Avocado ice cream. Okay, so Kyle had some positive stuff to say. He's really impressed with Jimmy Garoppolo. He said that Jimmy is having the best spring he's ever had with the 49ers. Then he was like, well, he hasn't had that many springs, though. I mean, first year he traded for him at the deadline. The second year he had a spring. Then the next year he had an ACL. Then the next year we had pandemic. So there's been 2 springs. 18 and 21, and apparently he's better now than he was 3 years ago, which is what you want. So what do you think of Kyle Shanahan's tepid praise of Jimmy Garoppolo?
I mean, it doesn't say a whole lot, because if you remember back after his first spring in 2018, Mike Silver came out with the report that Nick Mullins was in line to replace Jimmy Garoppolo if Garoppolo didn't perform early in the season. So, I mean, it was pretty much, it wasn't really much further down that he could go from where he was already. So,
that's right.
we don't get to see practice. So based off of everything I've heard, it sounds like he's doing fine. But
yeah.
It makes sense, as you're saying, and what Kyle was saying, that this is his second full training camp with the team, so it makes sense that Jimmy Garoppolo looks better. But you also have to factor in they need Jimmy Garoppolo to look better, and they need other people to think that Jimmy Garoppolo looks better, because either he's the quarterback this whole season and plays really well, and that's great, and Trey Lance becomes the quarterback next year, or he plays decent and they move on from him and start Trey Lance, and they're able to trade Jimmy Garoppolo for a Sam Bradford type package back a couple years ago when the Vikings got desperate. Either way, that's a win for the 49ers. So they need at least the public perception of Garoppolo to be he's improved on that 2018 season when he was pretty good.
Absolutely. I mean, I think we did this roundtable after the draft, and when Jimmy G wasn't traded, I said that you will never hear a bad word about Jimmy G out of Kyle Shanahan's mouth from this point on, because they need to make sure that they don't devalue him in case they have the option of being able to trade him. One of these other quarterbacks gets injured in the league and somebody's looking for, a starting caliber quarterback. Jimmy G is an option, just like Mav said, like Sam Bradford was with the Eagles a couple years ago. As far as though him looking good, I think is I don't know how truthful Shanahan is, because he's not going to say anything bad, but it is a positive sign, because we all know Jimmy G isn't the best practice quarterback. So for him to be able to, not be a positive sign and a plus in practice and stuff like that is a good sign. I guess he seems healthy, which is a good sign, because it's looking like, for me, all signs are pointing that he's probably going to be the starter week 1. So it's important that he's playing well.
Yeah, and I saw him twice. He looked really good. I agree with what Kyle Shanahan said. He looked more confident. He looked better than I've ever seen him in an off-season practice. He looks healthy. He looked good. He looked like Jimmy, though. I mean, he doesn't throw downfield. He doesn't move. But other than that, quick release, confident thrower. Sure. I think Kyle's basically telling the truth, but I didn't see the other practices. And
how was the jawline? The jawline.
Good. He came in a little chunky, but maybe he just had a little water weight. Yeah. Maybe he just had a little. Maybe he was recovering. Maybe he was doing it right. I don't know. He looks good. I like Jimmy Garoppolo. I give him a lot of crap, but honestly, I really like him. He seems like a really nice guy.
Not everybody got to stay trim like you during COVID, man. Not everybody got to stay trim like you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Nick says, if Kyle's responsible for the injuries, is he also responsible for the success of Warner and Juice, etc., staying healthy? They're doing the same practice, right? Well, yeah. I mean, that's the thing that I keep saying. Like, if Kyle gets credit for all the good stuff as a head coach, then he has to take responsibility for the bad stuff too, because the head coach always gets the credit. I mean, Juszczyk has missed 6 games, I'm just going to say. But Warner, he's never missed a game, and Kyle should definitely take credit for that. But he should own the other stuff too. He should own all of it. Yes, that's what the head coach does. That's all I'm saying. One more, and then we'll keep going with our regularly scheduled programming. Brian McDougall says, have the Niners invested in cryotherapy or any other groundbreaking recovery or therapy? I don't know. They don't go into specifics. You ask them like, oh, yeah, we do all that. Well, name one thing you do. We can't tell you because other teams are going to steal our ideas. No one wants to steal your ideas. You're the team with the most injuries. I'll ask. If I can get in the locker room, I'll ask Jimmy Ward. He'll let me know. Jimmy's my guy. Do the 49ers – here's a question. So the Niners lost to Various Moore. They signed Tony Jefferson. They kind of play different positions. Tony Jefferson's a strong safety. Moore is more of like a free safety cornerback hybrid. Do you think the Niners need to sign another safety? Why or why not?
I think it just depends on how guys are performing. They have already that I keep forgetting the corner that they signed earlier in the season when they re-signed Williams, but like
Ken Webster.
I forget. And then also the guy they drafted, is there as well. So the safeties that are still out on the market, it's a little bit thin as far as who's there. I don't know if they'd be able to pick up somebody that would still make the roster, to be honest. So I think they just go with what they have and then, kind of hope that somebody steps up, but we'll see.
I think they definitely have to sign a safety just because I was looking at the reserves, and we don't know if D'Amico Ryans is going to run the exact defense that Robert Saleh had, but they like versatility between the two safeties of having one go down into the box and the other one go up top. And if one of Jaquiski Tartt or Jimmy Ward goes down, the other guy has to be the single high safety because Talanoa Hufanga, I think, is more of a box safety. Tony Jefferson's more of a box safety. Tavon Wilson's been a special teamer / strong safety in his career, really. And then it brings you to Marcel Harris, who, I mean, everyone's lasting impression of him is that Green Bay Thursday night game, and I think he's still chasing Marquez Valdez-Scantling down. And
yes,
then Diamador Lenore, who's been a corner specifically in college. I know some people have said he could play free safety in the NFL, but are you really going to throw him into the fire in a new position right away? So I think they have to look at someone like Malik Hooker, who he himself has a lot of injury history.
Trey Boston.
Trey Boston is a talent. And even if I know this will get you angry, Grant, if Richard Sherman is finally able to re-sign.
At safety, I'm into it. At safety, I'm open-minded. Yeah,
if he's the third safety, that'd be definitely an interesting, and I think he could handle that role. I just don't know if the defense can trust Marcel Harris or Tavon Wilson playing single high when DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett are running a streak. It's a touchdown.
You're right.
You know, I don't think there's really anybody that's out there on the free agent market that's better than what the 49ers have on the roster. So, you know, I'm going to say no at this point. You know, Mav brings up some really good points as far as the box safeties, and I know I've been down on Hufanga as a safety as well, kind of thinking he needs to be more of a linebacker. But when you look at Hufanga, for example, he's a guy who plays really well with the ball in front of him. So if you get him as your high safety and get him back there so that he has everything in front of him where he's not having to turn and run with people and everything's in front of him so he can attack forward, I think he'd be okay. He's still going to struggle a little bit at angles and those kind of things, but he could possibly do it. You know, Tony Jefferson is kind of a similar type of a player from everything I've heard, but I really don't see anybody that's out there for them to bring. So at this point, you know, saying that I think they need to bring somebody in, I don't have anybody that I can suggest. So I think they have a lot of depth at that position. It does hurt them that they lost more because of his flexibility, but I think they've got some other guys there that can handle the job.
Yeah, I think other than Jimmy Ward and Jaquiski Tartt, the only safety on the team who could really play single high is Moore. So they need to replace that. And even Richard Sherman, could he do it? Maybe. But I think you'd like a little bit more range. And the thing about DBs is you want guys who are like 25 at DB. So those guys aren't available. It's really hard. What the Niners need is Jared Maiden to step up. That was an undrafted free agent last year. He played free safety and nickel in camp. I thought he looked good, but he's like one of these undrafted free agents who might do something like Kevin Givens down the line. If he could turn it, he has a similar skill set to Tavarius Moore. He's not as fast or as physically gifted, but he started at Alabama. If Jared Maiden steps up, they're okay. Otherwise, they got a bunch of strong safeties in Jimmy Ward. That's where we're at. Martin says, can't wait for the Cohn phone injury at rehab. That's French, is my wheelhouse, my man. Stay tuned. Can't wait. Looking forward to it. Martin Donaldson. All right, let's go. Do the 49ers need to sign another offensive tackle? Same question. They lost Justin School. I have no idea who the swing tackle is. What do you think?
I'll go ahead and start off on this one. I don't think they need to. I think of the swing tackle for School in particular, I think he was going to already be in a fight for his position. I think that's part of why they picked up Jalen Moore. So I think it was going to be between him and Moore, and probably going to be Sean Coleman would have been the other name. So those are kind of the three that were going to be battling it out for that position. And now you're looking at possibly Daniel Brunskill being added to that mix because he has played well at tackle before as well. So I think they've got plenty of guys along the offensive front where that's not an issue. Just circling back really quick though on the DB question that we were talking about, you know, the one guy that's out there that a lot of folks have talked about in the past and wanted to see the 49ers bring in last year that could be a guy if they want to bring him in would be Trey Boston. There's a name for you.
Definitely agree with that. Mav.
I think they have to sign a offensive lineman, whether it's a center / guard or a tackle, because I think if Daniel Brunskill is the swing tackle, and I think right now he is probably the most talented of the backups to play tackle, especially left tackle, then you kind of need another center, because if I mean, it's the
That's the point.
49ers. It's not like you're guaranteed that only one starter would get hurt. You kind of need to think about having a backup at every position the way things are going. So if Brunskill is the left tackle, right tackle, then maybe you hit up Ben Garland and see if he wants to come back and be the backup center right guard. If you want to keep Brunskill at center right guard, are you comfortable with Sean Coleman at left tackle, right tackle? Jalen Moore, do you want him as the left tackle potentially, having to come in like Justin School did last second his rookie year? That's a lot to ask for a rookie, especially a rookie from a non-Power 5 school. So I personally would think that it'd be better to lock Brunskill into either outside or inside and get a guy that can play the other position, at least to provide depth.
Good answer.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Jack on this one and say, at a certain point, we got to let these guys develop and let these guys play. And, they drafted, 2 linemen this year. Both were, one should be starting in Banks and, the other one, was going to be, competing for a position. We still have McKivitz, we still, Sean Coleman was supposedly looking good in practice as well. So I think you stick with the rotation you have right now and, so ask guys to step up because at the end of the day, like, we're investing draft picks into these guys. We're paying them money, like just to sit on the bench doesn't make any sense. And I personally believe like at this point, there's really not a lot of talent out there at the price range that the 49ers are going to pay somebody at that's going to come in and be better than the guys that are already on the squad. Like if this was like closer to the draft or right after the draft, maybe, but now everybody's kind of positioned with their roster and stuff like that. So I don't really know just to bring in a body if that really helps out rather than just pushing these guys to step up and, and actually earn a spot on the starting team or backup or whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's got to be Brunskill or Moore. If it's Moore, great. That's easy. But it seemed like they didn't really think Moore could play tackle, and they want to move him to guard. I don't know what they want to do, but I know that Brunskill's a good tackle. I know they want him to play center, but I know he's I always felt he was a better tackle than School. So if this moves Brunskill out to the swing tackle spot, good. They just improved at swing tackle. And I'm with Maverick on that. Bring in Ben Garland or a center. I think that's really clever. Brunskill should be the swing tackle. I like that. So no, it's hard to find an offensive tackle at this point, but you could probably find a center or something like that. Good call. Hunter says, I think it's time to turn on the Lowell Cohn bat signal. The time to put the pressure on Kyle is now. I got to say, Kyle doesn't know it, but he's lucky he didn't have my dad. My dad was a pain in the ass. Ask Jim Harbaugh and Chip Kelly. I'm just saying. So, Kyle, you got off easy. Last one. Which 6 wide receivers will make the final roster? Wide receiver is probably the sexiest position other than quarterback. And it's interesting to figure out or at least project because the Niners have like 11 bodies at this position. What do you think, guys?
So I think they kind of discussed at least, 4 or 5 that are probably definitely going to make it. So obviously we know Debo, Ayuk, Sanu, Richie James, Jawan Jennings, I guess are the 5 that are being talked about a lot by the coaching staff and that have shown, a lot of promise. Yeah. As far as that 6th one, I think it depends, if they want, they got, obviously I'll probably just go with River Craycraft just because you got to keep that name going. We got to have a River Craycraft on the team. And, he's Grant Cohn's favorite. So maybe River Craycraft or, one of those burners that they have. But I think the top 5 are pretty much set.
His brother is named Skyler. So it's Skyler and River. I think he's got another sibling with an ER name. That's baller. Anyway, keep going. Sorry.
Well, to do this, I had to kind of make my own 53-man roster to play it out. And what I have right now is I just think they need too many defensive backs. And I think at least to start, I personally would go 5 wide receivers, at least week 1. And I know they went 6 last year. So it's a little different. But Ayuk, Samuel, Richie James, Mohamed Sanu, and then if Jalen Hurd or Jawan Jennings impresses, that's the 5th one. And if they really push the envelope, then you can take away one of the defensive linemen. But with the way they're stacking up on defensive linemen and defensive backs, it makes me think they want to go 5 safeties, 6 CBs, 9 defensive linemen, and that takes away one wide
I
receiver.
think it's still a 55-man roster.
Oh, 55 now?
I think it still is because it's a 17th game. I could be wrong. I think it still is.
Well, then that goes Hurd and Jennings then. And I'll take both.
Okay, there you go. Makes it easy.
Yeah, if they go 6, we know the Debo and Ayuk. Those are the two that we all know. Richie James Jr. That's number 3. Where I change is if Jalen Hurd is healthy, he's going to make this roster because he brings so much to the table. Because he's really almost a big tight end. He's that second tight end that they've been trying to get. And then from there, you've got to look at guys that can play special teams. I think when you get to number 4 and 6, 5 and 6. So that's why I go with Juwan Jennings. I'm basing this off of the reports and all the reports from camp that I've heard so far is that he's showing improvement. So if he's better than he was a year ago, then they seem to like him. I think he makes the roster because he brings special teams ability to cover on kicks and things like that. That's why he makes the roster. And my 6th guy would be Travis Benjamin. And the reason he makes it is over Sanu. Again, these guys are both making it over Sanu because they have the ability to play special teams and catch the ball. And Benjamin is a guy who had good success as a kick returner under I think in Cleveland when Shanahan was there. He played well with him in 2014. So, and they really need somebody that can return punts. So that's why I'm going with Benjamin as the 6th guy.
Yeah, that's a good call. I feel like Sanu is going to be on the practice squad. If Juwan Jennings makes the team, then Sanu is kind of redundant. He's like the 30-year-old version, 32-year-old version. So as long as Juwan Jennings stays healthy and improves, Sanu's out, I would think. So we're saying Ayuk, Debo, Richie James, Jennings, Hurd, that's 5. And then which vet special teamer are they going to keep? Benjamin or Sherfield? Benjamin's more of a returner. Sherfield's more of a coverage guy. Whichever one's healthy, I guess. Benjamin got hurt already. Sherfield's healthy now. I mean, we'll see who's the last man standing. I think it could be between those two.
Did Hurd practice at all? Do you get to see him at all, Grant, or no?
Hell no, dude. Are you kidding? Jalen Hurd? That guy is the biggest mystery of all time. No. I saw him for a week one time, and it was very
little faith that he's going to be healthy. Yeah. So that's why I didn't put him on my list. Obviously, if he's healthy, he's probably the 3rd option. But
if it's not him, it could be Sanu, it could be Benjamin, either one.
I just feel like with Sanu, that's a really young quarterback room if Sanu's not there, right? So, the 49ers have always had that one, kind of vet that could, be in that room, make sure everybody's doing, and they wouldn't have that if Sanu didn't make the squad. So,
good point. That's a good point. Yeah, maybe Sanu.
Who was that guy last year, though? Who was the vet last year?
Bourne, right?
Yeah, I guess Bourne. You want to say Bourne? 4th year vet. Yeah, tough one. There might have been one more comment. Hold on. Kyle seems he needs to be the cool friend's relatable peer rather than being the coach leader. Could be why injuries aren't on him. He's just one of them. Interesting theory. I'm not embedded enough in the team to really know. I hear he can be a real stickler. He can be tough. I don't think he has a problem yelling at people or being like the bad guy. But I hear what you're saying, man. It's interesting. He got to really look in the mirror on this one. Only he knows the answer on this one. I'd like to think in year 5 that he could figure it out, but we'll see, man. Some bad data points in June, but the season isn't over. Nothing is screwed. They're still okay. I think people are just wringing their hands because it's a bad sign on June 9th, but still that's what it is, right? It's just a bad sign. Nothing's ruined yet. So
I agree.
Keep that in mind.
And like I said, we all agreed that this happened before he came his regime. He just hasn't fixed it, which is why we're kind of blaming.
No one's fixed it, yeah. And
right.
Again, if you haven't read it, Jack Hammer wrote a must-read article, sort of tracing the beginnings of this injury issue, which is an 8-year streak. So check it out. That's our show. Thanks everyone for watching. Maverick, great to see you. Suneil, great to see you. Jack, always a pleasure. I'll be back in about 45 minutes with Jesse. For the late crowd, 49ers After Dark. See you guys then. Take care, everyone.